Welcome to Books in Focus. I know you are all old veterans, but this is the place where we talk about new upcoming books. I'm going to start with hot new fiction. I will say December is a bit of a slower month for publishing, so you'll see some lesser known names on this list of 8 here. But first up is The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. This one's a gripping historical mystery inspired by the life and diary of an 18th century midwife, Martha Ballard. In this novel, Ballard goes against the grain to investigate a shocking murder in her community. The wonder of it all is the latest from Barbara Taylor Bradford. This is the final novel in her House of Falconer trilogy, the first of which was called Master of His Fate, if you're curious. This final book details self-made man James Falconer's World War I service and his return to London, where he tries to reconcile with his an old flame and his estranged daughter. Manor of Death is the latest from Robin Cook. So Robin Cook is kind of the go-to name for medical thrillers. So this is a mystery thriller. This series features husband and wife medical examiners, Jack and Lori. This time, an autopsy reveals that an apparent suicide was actually a staged homicide, and Lori goes against her professional rules, ethics, to personally investigate. Lone Oaks Crossing is the latest in the new Americana Western romance series. Determined to save the family farm from foreclosure, Derby-winning horse trainer Jo Beth Ellis reinvents the property as a healing retreat for horses and makes a deal with her handsome neighbor in hopes of winning a trifecta: a champion horse, a happy family, and a forever love. Next we have City of Betrayal by Victoria Thompson. This is the 7th book in the Counterfeit Ladies series. Former grafter, con artist, Elizabeth Bates joins a team of women seeking to earn the right to vote in Tennessee, and she has to devise a con to help them succeed. It's a, quote, fiercely feminist historical adventure. Then we have Valdemar by Mercedes Lackey. This is another third in the trilogy, the Founding of Valdemar trilogy, which, like it sounds, finishes the origin story of her fantasy realm, which is, of course, called Valdemar. And that's the realm where I want to say most of her fantasy fiction, is set. The Engagement Party by Darby Kane. So this is the latest from a #1 international best-selling author. It's a twisty thriller set on a private island in Maine, where a group of old college friends find themselves revisiting 2 student deaths from 12 years ago. And then lastly is Lost Hours by Paige Shelton. This is the 5th book in the Alaska Wild Mysteries. Series protagonist, thriller author Beth Rivers investigates a kidnapping during an Alaskan cruise in this latest installment.
On the Frozen River, what time period is that in?
18th century is all I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that, we have our exciting new non-fiction bestsellers. The first one is What Really Happens in Vegas by James Patterson. This new nonfiction title from James Patterson is a mosaic of true stories from Las Vegas, exploring the excess, drama, and hope of this unique desert town. Next up, and I lost a bet, so hang on a minute, is The Lost Tomb. Da 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 da. Okay.
Doesn't take much to amuse us.
That's what we're here for. Except I lost a bet. So this new book pulls together a compelling collection of true stories about buried treasure, lost tombs, Bizarre Crimes, Archaeology, and More by Douglas Preston. Next, we have Oath and Honor by Liz Cheney. This is a gripping first-hand account from inside the halls of the Capitol building during January 6th, from the perspective of Liz Cheney, as well as her ruminations on where we are and where we might possibly be heading as a country. We then have When I Was Your Age by Kenan Thompson. This is a well-packed, hilarious, and poignant essay collection about his life as a comedian, SNL, dyslexia is fun that way. Longest ever serving cast member, his early work in the 2000s on Nickelodeon, and as his experience as a dad. Your Journey to Financial Freedom by Jamelin Sofront is an easy-to-read, helpful guide where she shows you how to boost your savings, blast through debt, and accelerate your unique and truly epic journey to financial freedom and independence in a way that is much easier for those of us who do not math well, much easier for us to understand. Next, we have Songs on Endless Repeat by Anthony Vesna. This is described as a sharply funny, emotionally expansive collection of essays and linked short stories exploring family, queer desire, pop culture, community, and race. Then we have How Not to Age, which today I'm feeling that one, by Michael Greger, where he takes a deep dive into the top peer-reviewed anti-aging research to deliver a complete and compact guide that has simple, actionable steps to help you extend your lifespan and slow adverse aging effects. Then we have Everywhere and Oink Oink by David Mamet. He is an award-winning playwright, screenwriter, and director, and in his memoir, he shares a variety of anecdotes from his time in Hollywood, from his arrival in LA in the 1980s as a hotshot playwright through today. And you're still stuck with me, wahaha, for our first book. So our first book is The Other Mothers by Catherine Faulkner. When a young nanny mysteriously dies near Tasha's home, Tasha thinks that solving the mystery around what happened that night might help relaunch her journalism career. As a new mom herself, she has the perfect in to subtly look into the nanny's history and connect with her affluent neighbors and check for suspicious activity by setting up play dates with the other mothers. However, things take an unsettling turn in this fresh and deftly plotted thriller about motherhood, family, and class in London. The first read-alike I have is The Home Across the Lake with a similar tone and sense of uncertainty. Our protagonist, Casey, begins watching her neighbors, Tom and Catherine, from across the lake when Catherine suddenly disappears. Casey is unsure what to think in this suspenseful psychological thriller, and she tries to hunt down the truth with a pair of binoculars. And then my other read-alike, Everyone Here is Lying by Shara LaPena, thank you. I don't know where the words went there. This has a similar focus on how neighbors connect and how families work together in mysterious circumstances. So this is William Wooler. He is returning home after ending an affair, and it did not end well. He is in a terrible state when he finds his daughter Ella home unexpectedly. Hours later, Ella is declared missing. As the search begins, neighbors come forward, and it becomes clear that William isn't the only one hiding things. This is a fast-paced thriller centered around family and community. So this is Fourth Rule by Jeffrey Lindsay. It's the fourth in the Riley Wolf series. Riley thinks of himself as something of a modern Robin Hood, specifically stealing from the rich in stuffy institutions. He is audacious, handsome, roguishly charming, and has been settling into the niche of master thief that he has carved out for himself. But now there is a new master thief out there on the international stage, calling himself the Cobra. This is a fast-paced, action-packed thriller with intricate plots, twists, and turns. The first read-alike I have is actually the first in the series, called Just Watch Me. In this series, you are introduced to Riley Wolf as he attempts the impossible, which is theft of the crown jewels of Iran. This series in general is known to be full of high-octane action, masterful plotting, and just the fun mayhem of grand heists. The other read-alike I have is The Heist by Janet Ivanovich, with a similarly audacious, charming lead man. Nicholas Fox is a born con man, and after being caught by the fiercely dedicated and brilliant FBI agent, Kate O'Hare, he has pulled his biggest con yet, convincing the FBI to let him work with Agent O'Hare to solve a new crime and catch an investment banker, which investment banker can't be that hard, right? Or so they think. This is described as a fast-paced story with fun characters and plenty of action. And it's Janet Ivanovich, so you know it's gonna be funny.
Moving on to this month, the 12th of December, we'll see the release of Calling on the Matchmaker. This is Jody Headland's next series. This is number 1 of a Shanahan match, is going to be the series that she's starting. So this is a historical romance. Takes place in St. Louis in 1849. It's a slow burn romance that stays very clean. The couple's conflict and growth fuel the story, making it a character-driven story, and it's well balanced with a lot of atmospheric tone. Finola is grieving the loss of her sister and isn't real interested in a relationship, so she commits a lot of her time to caring for immigrants in the slums of her city. But her parents want her to be paired off, so they hire an Irish matchmaker to help her out. And she pairs her with a wagon maker and mayoral candidate who is also dashing, daring, and determined. As their attraction is growing, a cholera outbreak hits St. Louis and tests what they know about love and sacrifice. So, strong sense of place in that one, I'm guessing. And then the 2 read-alikes that I chose are both from the inspirational fiction section. I'll Be Seeing You by Robin Lee Hatcher. This is also about heartache, but it's multi-generational, and also things are not as they seem. This has been a pretty popular item in the library. And I also Marry Me Millie by Amy Lillard. This is grieving loss and risking your heart. And this is number 1 in Miss Lillard's Paradise of Valley series. This also takes place in the exciting location of Missouri. Cookies. Next selection is Rebecca, Not Becky. This one comes out the 5th of December. And it has co-authors Christine Platt and Catherine Wigginton Green. This takes place in our current times in Rolling Hills, Virginia. 2 stay-at-home moms, one white and one black, faced racism head-on after becoming neighbors. White Rebecca, not Becky, champion of racial diversity, wonders what could be better for her parent diversity committee than a brand new black family right next door. Black DeAndrea is in the neighborhood by circumstance. She did not choose to move. She was very happy in Atlanta. And during therapy, her therapist suggests that she may find some happiness and contentment if she chooses to make a white friend. The social satire turns into a page turner as rising social racial tensions highlight their common cause, This is very well-developed characters. Again, it's a character-driven story and a timely one as well. Miss Platt has only written in the past, she writes kids' books. This is her first attempt at an adult novel, and Catherine Wigginton Green is a filmmaker, so this is kind of a new sort of step out there for both of those authors. Read-alikes would be Such a Fun Age. If you read that, you'll understand how the storylines are very similar. Privileged white lady takes over the life of a not so privileged black woman, and her eagerness to help becomes a problem. And then I also brought Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. It's also issue driven, same sort of issue. Has a very complex storyline, but it's written in Ms. Picoult's recognizable conversational style. So a gut-punching topic, but her style helps you digest it a little easier than it had.
Okay, Deadly Game is a new book by, yes, the Academy Award-winning author, Michael Caine. I told Miranda I'd give her 5 minutes to do her best Michael Caine impression.
No.
You don't feel like doing it anymore?
I'm doing Michael Caine as Scrooge. No.
Hey, he's already saying.
So this is a fast-paced international thriller. Main character is old school, unorthodox Detective Chief Inspector Harry Taylor, 45 years old. A metal box of weapons-grade uranium is found at a dump in East London, and it's stolen before the police can arrive. So Taylor and his team are tasked with retrieving it before it's too late. Shootouts, ambushes, and standoffs all ensue. Publishers Weekly says Caine writes with an Ian Fleming-like appreciation for outsized villains, a fascination with atomic age minutia, and tough guy dialogue that absolutely crackles. This is the kind of well-oiled thriller that Caine made his name starring in. So as read-alikes, I have Enigma by Catherine Coulter. This is another action-packed international intrigue type thriller with a race against the clock. In this book, you have 2 FBI agents who have to catch a criminal. He's a scientist who is experimenting on people in his attempts to live forever. And I also brought The English Spy by Daniel Silva, another high-stakes thriller, also set in England. Intelligence officer Gabrielle Allon has to track down the killer of a member of the British royal family. Next up is Murder Crossed Her Mind by Stephen Spotswood. This is the 4th book in the Pentecost and Parker historical mystery series. This is action-packed retro noir, if you will. It's 1947 New York. Detective Lillian Pentecost and her assistant Will Parker are the main characters. And in this book you have an elderly shut-in with an exceptional memory, a memory that holds secrets that lots of different parties might like to keep that way. She goes missing, and Pentecost and Parker are hired by an old enemy to find her. So if you're curious in the series, the first book, which I don't have with me, is called Fortune Favors the Dead. That's book 1. But as read-alikes, I also brought a book by Rex Stout. Rex Stout wrote a series of mysteries from the 1930s through the 1970s. That featured another unlikely detective duo, that being Nero Wolfe and Archie Goodwin. So they have a similar dynamic going on. And then I also brought Murder on Bedford Street by Victoria Thompson. This is part of her Gaslight mystery series that's set in the early 20th century New York. Also features a detective duo, a midwife, and a detective sergeant. And in this one, they have to work together to stop a killer lurking among a young family. The Gentleman's Gambit. This is the 4th book in the League of Extraordinary Women Quartet. So final book here. Set in Oxford, England, you have a busy, bookish suffragist who gets stuck playing host to her father's handsome young colleague. So Catriona Campbell is an introvert who lives for her work at Oxford and her fight for women's suffrage. She has tried at love, but has ended poorly. Elias Corey has come to Oxford to work with Catriona's father, but under false pretenses. He doesn't want to merely classify artifacts, he actually wants to take them with him back to his homeland in the Middle East. And winning Catriona's favor could be crucial to his mission. Kirkus calls this a bold, illuminating finale to a feminist romance series. So for Rita Lakes, first I brought the first in that quartet here, which is Bringing Down the Duke. Same author, of course. Same themes of romance and female pioneers. Also set in England. And that one is about the first female student to attend Oxford who falls for the cold, calculating Duke she is trying to recruit to the cause of women's suffrage. So very similar. And I also brought one from Julia Quinn's Bridgerton series of historical romances. This is The Other Miss Bridgerton. And in this book, Poppy Bridgerton will only wed a suitor whose keen intellect and interests match her own. And she ends up falling for a pirate captain.
This is the final in the Severus Corax trilogy. This one's Severus Corax Gets Away with Murder by K.J. Parker. Severus is in the battlefield salvage business, which means when the blood flows, so will the cash. However, he has had enough, but there are a few loose ends before he can retire for good. This is described as an imaginative, heartwarming tale of peace, love, and battlefield salvage, with a quirky, unforgettable cast of characters. I was going to pull the first book in this trilogy for you as one of the read-alikes in case you were thusly inclined. However, there is a mystery afoot. According to the computer, we have it. According to all of the shelves in the library, we do not. So if you are thusly inclined to go forth and search, please do. But in that first one, it is described as a heartwarming story as you get to know these characters as they all come together in this battlefield salvage business. The other read-alike I have is from Parker's other trilogy. It starts with 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City. You are introduced to his unique writing style, and this particular novel features a wily and unforgettable protagonist as he attempts to defend his home from a bloodthirsty army bent on siege and destruction with little more than his wits. Next one is The Curse of Penrith Hall by Jess Armstrong. This is an atmospheric Gothic mystery set just after the First World War that beautifully brings together the ancient Cornish countryside and a unique and entertaining female protagonist. American heiress Ruby Vaughn has made a place for herself by running a rare bookshop near the Cornish countryside. One day she finds herself delivering books near to one of her former dearest friends, and Sir Edward, when Edward turns up dead the following day. It is up to Rudy to discover the truth and save her friend. The first read-alike I have is The Botanist's Guide to Parties and Poisons. It is also set during the First World War. Our protagonist is Saffron Everly. She's in a race against time to free her mentor and friend who has been accused of poisoning his rival's wife by mistake.
I wrote that using Alias.
Ah. Watching you now. I'm not gonna take any drinks from you now. as she attempts to uncover the truth, she finds herself in the murderous sites. It's got a lot of fun, goofy characters, and it's a lot of fun set during that time period as well. A lot of really good historical detail. The other one, which I know a few of you have probably already read, is Maisie Dobbs by Jacqueline Winspear, with a similarly feisty and entertaining protagonist, and also set in England post-World War I. We find Maisie Dobbs as she is working to set up her newly founded investigation business and trying to forget her experience as a nurse during the First World War. So it's a lot of fun, and it is a very, very long series. So if you haven't read it already, this is definitely the place to start.
Next up, we have Death in the Dark Woods by Annalise Ryan. This comes out on the 12th of December. This is the second in her Monster Hunter series. Morgan Carter's bookstore, Odds and Ends, is doing well, but she cannot resist a call to help hunt for a Bigfoot-type creature in Chequamegon Nicolet National Forest, who may also be a killer. Can Morgan avoid becoming the next target? This is, what Morgan is a cryptid, which is why I chose one of the read-alikes, because that was a new word for me. And in case it's a new word for anyone here, I thought I would share as a person who hunts for, Bigfoot-like things. We have a whole book about about them throughout the United States. That's the one read-alike. And this is a nonfiction, so everything in there is true. The next read-alike I selected is called Devolution. It's by Max Brooks. And this is a story about Greenwood, Washington, which is a idyllic community until Mount Rainier erupts. And then there's no power, there's no food. Their idyllic little town or part of town is cut off from the rest of the world. And the subtitle of this book is a first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre. So that tells you what happens to desperate people who live at the foot of mountains. This Spells Love is a new romance from Miss Kate Robb. This will come out on the 5th of December. Young love goes wrong. She needs a magic spell to get him gone. Young Gemma drinks too many margaritas, could go wrong, and then decides to perform a love cleansing spell to get rid of the memory of her ex. The spell goes too far, requiring Gemma to obtain a kiss from her former best friend Dax, who no longer recognizes her. Carrying out her plan leads her to wonder if Dax was the one all along. Maybe she should have left well enough alone. This is a friend to lovers type of romance, and for read-alikes I brought Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, where Delilah returns home to photograph her stepsister's wedding, and she meets her old high school friend Claire, and sparks fly for them. And The Plus One by Maisie Eddings. Fake wedding date leads to childhood enemies having real feelings for each other. So, another friend to lovers. This is a women's fiction selection by Kate Christensen. This takes place between the protagonist Rachel's Washington, D.C. home and her hometown in Maine. Rachel has left home and created a nice professional life for herself, and her mother dies and things really fall apart for her. She has to come to terms with her past, her own past, as well as the sorrowful, long buried feelings she has toward her mother. And she also finds out that her sister has married the love of Rachel's life, and she didn't know that, so that's disturbing to her as well. Richard Russo calls this a grab-you-by-the-throat drama. It's a sophisticated story that holds up a mirror to our modern life. The two read-alikes I chose for this, I'm glad my mom died. I'm so happy to be able to choose this as a read-alike because now I got to read about what it's about because I could not imagine. So it is about reckoning with your life after your mother dies. With Jenny McCurdy was a child actress. She became an actress on iCarly. Got her first job when she was 6. She rose to significant stardom, much to her mother's delight, but her mother also made her dye her eyelashes. She made her consume a very restricted diet, put a lot of demands on her, and which led to a mess later. So Miss McCurdy, once her mother died, she was able to get away from that pressure, enter therapy, and figure out how to make her life work. And What We Lose is by Zini Clemens. This is learning about yourself after losing your mom and realizing how her life is in each and every tiny nook and cranny of your home. It was then and it is now, and how to go forward.
5 Bad Deeds. This is a twisty thriller type, set in small town England. You have a private tutor and a busy mother, Ellen Walsh. She receives an ominous, anonymous note in the mail, which reads, "People have to learn there are consequences, Ellen, and I'm going to teach you that lesson." Now, although Ellen considers herself a good person, she has had her darker moments, and someone starts making those dark moments public, destroying her life and reputation in doing so. So this is told through multiple points of view, including Ellen and her husband, and you have themes of alcoholism, infidelity, loyalty, and revenge. So this one sounds in a similar vein to the now famous Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, in which a man's wife suddenly disappears on their 5th wedding anniversary, and he becomes the immediate suspect. Miranda already stole my thunder on this one. Sherry LaPena, that's the one again about the unfaithful husband whose daughter disappears after he strikes her. The Mayors of New York is the 15th book in a mystery series featuring Bill Smith and Lydia Chin, 2 private New York City investigators. The 15-year-old son of New York City's first female mayor has disappeared. The mayor believes that her son has run away, as he's done in the past, and Bill and Lydia are hired to find the boy before anyone else finds out he's missing. As usual, Rosen, the author, is less interested in hiding culprits than in providing a consistently brisk and illuminating tour of the city, gently probing the underside of any number of rocks and supplying a triple-barreled climax that will answer all your questions and then some, says Publishers Weekly. For read-alikes, I brought The Girl Who Disappeared Twice by Andrea Kane. In this one, a family court judge hires a team of forensic investigators to find her missing daughter, also set in New York. And Stuart Woods' long-running series featuring Stone Barrington. He is a New York City private investigator, so similar setting, similar vibe. Irish Milkshake Murder by Carleen O'Connor, Peggy Earhart, and Liz Ireland. So this is 3 St. Patrick's Day themed cozy mysteries in one book, everybody. First we have Irish Milkshake Murder. During a joint hen and stag party aboard a ferry, a murder shamrocks the boat as someone's spiked shake turns out to be their final round. In Murder Most Irish, a patron at a luncheonette in New Jersey is felled by a frothy green milkshake during the sheep parade. And then lastly, Mrs. Claus and the Luckless Leprechaun, So we got 2 holidays packed into one here. It's springtime in Santa Land. And when one elf is targeted with a bad and empty milkshake, Mrs. Claus and her friends must figure out if the attack was a failed hit job, a crime of passion, or an extremely unfortunate accident. Miranda, can you think of any words that might summarize the goings on?
Well, I've already paid money for this book.
Do you have anything at all that you can?
No, I'm still processing. Like I said, I'm still processing that all of those words came from you just now.
So, very much in the same vein, I brought Christmas Sweets by Joanne Fluke. This also contains 3 tales, 3 Yuletide tales of mystery, murder, and romance. And then Irish Parade Murder by Leslie Meyer. In this one, a new reporter is implicated in the murder of a corrections officer during an annual St. Patrick's Day celebration. And can you guys see this cover? Good, right? There's no remorse on that leprechaun's face at all.
Flores and Miss Paula by Melissa Rivero is a literary fiction title. It is described as a wry, tender novel about a Peruvian immigrant mother and her millennial daughter who are navigating grief and trying to find common ground. Now that their main connection is gone after the death of the father in the family. With a strong theme of family, legacy, compassion, and authenticity, this new novel offers insight to the complexities of the mother-daughter relationship. The first read-alike I have is also by Melissa Rivero, just so you can get introduced to her style, and it also focuses on a Peruvian immigrant experience as a young, undocumented Peruvian woman is fighting to keep her family afloat in New York City. It is described as an emotionally intense story about the lengths that one woman would go to for her family. So there is a fly that just really likes all of us. The other read-alike I have is Women and Salt by Gabriel Garcia, with a similar focus on the complex relationship between mothers and daughters, and themes of family, legacy, and compassion. In this one, Carmen, the daughter of a human, yeah, it's the fly trying to land on my face. Carmen, the daughter of a Cuban immigrant, is still wrestling with the trauma of displacement as she tries to process the difficult relationship with her mother after taking in a wayward teen. So the next one is The Wildest Son by Asha Lemming. This is a historical fiction set in 1945. Delphine is a young aspiring writer, and she is currently caring for her alcoholic mother in France. Her mother starts claiming that Hemingway is her father, which sends Delphine on a journey to New York and beyond to discover not only if Hemingway is really her father, but who she is. It's described as an emotional coming-of-age story with a strong sense of place and themes of family and legacy. The first read-alike I have is a nonfiction title. It is actually Ernest Hemingway's biography, to learn more about him and the possibility of him having an unknown daughter out there. I thought that would be interesting. Next, I have Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. Byron and Benny are left with a strange inheritance from their mother Eleanor, a black cake made from a family recipe and a voice recording. As they listen to their mother's story, everything they thought they knew about themselves and their lineage changes. This is an evocative, beautifully written story about family, secrets, and legacy.
A Winter by the Sea, by Julie Clausen. This is number 2 in her Devonshire Shores series. It's on the Devonshire coast of Great Britain. Our protagonist is Emily Summers. So, what we find out in this book is that secrets and intrigue enter your home when you agreed to house the British royal family's male staff. And you have young women in your house. So the Duke and Duchess of Kent and the future Queen Victoria rent a lodge next door for the winter. The Duke's handsome private secretary helps Emily to write a guidebook for Sidmouth, and a surprise visitor from her past leaves her torn between that familiar desire and her budding dreams. Sidmouth is a real town on the English Channel, and the Rita Likes I chose Victoria. This is, there's a novelization of Victoria by Daisy Goodwin, and this is a nonfiction story of Victoria's life, and it does talk about her childhood and the winter home that she and her family visited. And then there were none. I chose this by Agatha Christie because it's like one of the top-selling books of fiction in the history of the universe, and it also takes place on the Devonshire coast. Next up, we have the fairy tale life of Dorothy Gale. Probably no surprises there, friends, right? Retelling of the Wizard of Oz, and in this version, Dee, as she's known in this story, she doesn't go by Dorothy. She leaves Uncle Henry and Aunt Em in Kansas to attend graduate school at Trinity College in Dublin, because she needs to escape a tornado of negativity from a messy love affair. So she meets new friends in Dublin, and those friends are, in turn, brainless, heartless, and loyal. But she is at the same time mentored by powerful women who challenge her to see herself with new eyes and realize that the power has been inside her all along. Virginia Contra also wrote Meg and Jay and Beth and Amy, which were based on Little Women. And I think we talked about those a few years ago. As Rita Likes, I brought Finding Dorothy by Elizabeth Letts, who I think all of us have read in one book or another. She did write The Ride of Her Life, which was a very popular selection here at the library, and The Perfect Horse. This is Finding Dorothy. This story starts out being about Maud Baum, who was watching the making of The Wizard of Oz, and her original intent was to make sure they stayed true to her husband's story, but she ended up trying to take Judy Garland under her wing because she realized the pressure they were putting on such a young actress. And then Dorothy Must Die. That one is about Dorothy returning to Oz, or staying in Oz, and achieving a lot of power, which, as power does to everyone, corrupts and makes her greedy, and how that changes Dorothy's life. Okay, Deep Fried Death by Maddie Day. Miss Day writes the Country Store Mystery Series. It's a cozy mystery, and this is number 12. Takes place in Southlake, Indiana, which is not a real town. There is a Southlake River, however, in Brown County, which is a lovely, lovely place. If you have never been to Brown County, Indiana, if it's not that far away, it is geographically just a beautiful, environmentally, just a beautiful place. But anyway, it is not related to French Lick, Indiana, which is a real place, which is famous because, do we know why? What happened in French Lick, Indiana? Larry Bird was born. Oh man. Someday you might need to know that for trivia, or better yet, John.
He was born a human.
Excuse me?
Was he born a human?
He was born a human. Yeah. Not Cuban. Yeah, not a Cuban, he's human. Yeah. Anyway. So sometimes just the publisher's description says it way better than Christine can say it. So I'm going to quote you two different lines from the what the publisher put out about this book. A killer strikes with an iron skillet during Southwick, Indiana's annual outhouse race festivities, landing Pans and Pancakes owner Robbie Jordan on the suspect list. Again, quote, she'll need to be privy to the townfolk's secrets as she races to flush out a killer. And it includes recipes, so you are welcome.
Where did you three go to drink before? Because we want to go to.
All right, next one we'll call you first. All right, and then she has several other books if you're interested. We'll help you. And so for read-alike, of course I had to grab Joanne Fluke as well, but I brought the Raspberry Danish Murder and Statute of Limitations by Kate Collins. And this is the first in a 4-part series by that author. Joanne, has anyone read Joanne Fluke? Okay. I just read her for the first time. I was very distracted by the whole recipe thing. Very distracted. They're everywhere throughout the book. There's not one or two.
She's a baker, right?
Yeah, a baker. Well, and what's more enjoyable than a recipe from a good baker, right?
Yeah.
So this one's described as an eerie, atmospheric, polar gothic. Just interesting. Christine, didn't you hang out with polar goths in high school?
That's all I see.
The fur coats and the eyeliner? So this is set during the 1860s.
In the 1860s is when we hung out.
A British explorer searches for his lost shipmate and his own redemption. So a main character is William Day. He's an Arctic explorer, disgraced after a failed expedition resulted in his crew resorting to cannibalism. Jesse Stevens, Day's second in command, has gone missing on his own expedition, and now Day has a chance to redeem himself. But to be successful, he has to face the horrors of his own past, as well as new horrors that await him in the harsh Arctic landscape.
Glad to see there are no little read-alikes.
I
Oh, darn, there are.
Oh, wait.
wanted
This
to
one
keep you in
takes place in
suspense.
Marion.
First read-alike is The Hunger by Alma Katsu. This is another, both of these are historical horror, you could call them. This one is a retelling of the fate of the Donner Party. Okay. And then The Terror by Dan Simmons is a fictional retelling of the 1845 Franklin expedition. All the same elements of cold, terror, survival, etc.
This is The Icarus Twin by Timothy Zahn. This is the second in the Icarus series. This sees our protagonist, Gregory Rover, and his partner working for a top-secret government organization known as the Icarus Group, a ragtag bunch assembled by the government for secret purposes. Their current mission is to find transportation portals built by a long-dead aliens race and convert them into things that could be used by humanity. This is a covert assignment that turns into a race against time. Gregory is accused of murder. This is being described as a fast-paced sci-fi adventure with lots of twists and turns and fun characters. The first read-alike, actually both read-alikes I have here are involve groups of ragtag characters coming together for a variety of different reasons. The first one, which is The Last Watch by J.S. Dews, has a bunch of characters coming together in order to stop the collapse of the universe. The edges are falling apart and no one knows why. This group of mostly dregs from the military are called upon to stop this before it becomes too late. The other read-alike I have is The Collapsing Empire by John Scalzi. This is also a high-octane space adventure. where humanity has spread from Earth to create a massive interstellar empire. However, it faces ruin from within until three unlikely individuals come together to save their people before, again, it is too late.
This is Here in the Dark. This is a debut, a dark, stylish thriller. A young New York theater critic named Vivian Perry is an unhappy former actress known for her scathing reviews. After sitting for an interview with a graduate student who gets a little too personal with his questions, the graduate student disappears shortly thereafter, Vivian being the last person to have seen him. Vivian decides to look into the mystery herself to try and find out the reasons for his disappearance. Now, the author, Alexis Solosky, is a theater insider, so she herself is a theater critic. So she's very much writing from what she knows. It's said to have fun supporting characters and snappy dialogue. I brought The Turnout by Megan Abbott as a read-alike. This one is also a thriller, and it's set within the competitive ballet world. It's about three dancers who have their lives upturned after their dance studio catches fire. And I also brought When the Lights Go Out by Mary Kubica. In this one, a young woman finds herself at the center of a bizarre mystery, the stress of which causes worsening insomnia and an inability to differentiate what's real from what's not.
More romance. This is The Second Chance Here by Melissa Wiesner. And for Sadie, the protagonist in this story, her life has fallen apart. On the rebound, Sadie kisses her brother's best friend, Jacob. Then she goes to see a fortune teller who offers her one wish. And she wishes for a do-over of the disastrous previous year. So her wish comes true, allowing her to see all of the red flags she had previously missed. While running into Jacob all along, he has no memory of the kiss they shared, leaving her to wonder, was wishing for a second chance a wise wish? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yeah. This does have strong female characters, and the female does move from survive to thrive, so she progresses in her maturity and her acceptance of her life as it is. For read-alikes, I brought In 5 Years. In this book, the lead character just gets 1 hour. She jumps 5 years ahead for 1 hour and then goes back to her regular life. It gives her an opportunity to think about where she is and what she has. And Me Before You, no time travel, but character development, life events, and love all pack a punch in this one. And I like no other, so reason I chose that one.
Alrighty, so this is our first nonfiction title. It is Gilded Youth by Tom Quinn. This looks at how the British royal family has raised their children, not just recently, but for centuries. For as long as the royal family has existed, they have been obsessed over making the next generation of royals tough and as independent as possible, often by delegating their parental duties to staff. And this book explores the impact that has had on each successive generation of the royals. The first read-alike I have, so he can tell you how that feels in his own words, is Spare by Prince Harry. And then I also brought the Palace Papers by Tina Brown that talks about the different things that have kind of rocked the royal family, specifically how the Queen swore that there would never be another member of the royal family who would outshadow the monarch, such as Diana did, and how that hasn't seemed to hold up very well, and how much it has changed the royals in general. Into Siberia by Gregory Wallace. In the late 19th century, the United States had very close diplomatic ties to Russia. This was while the Tsar was still in power. In 1885, George Buchanan, traveled thousands of miles into Siberia to investigate the exile system that Russia was building to suppress dissent. His eyes were opened to the horrific brutality of the Russian state. He described it as a perfect hell of misery. And upon returning to the United States, he did everything he could to raise awareness and to try to do something to change the horrific state of the exiles in Siberia.
I'm just going to insert her here.
Yep.
He is the person that created our containment policy
Yep.
after World War II. So immediately that caught my eye. I thought, what is he doing wandering around Siberia? Now I know. So-
So it's a really interesting story. The
Sounds it.
first read-alike I have is actually The House of the Dead, and it talks about the exile system in Siberia under the czars. Kathy, would you like this one? It is a hefty fellow, but it goes into how the exile system worked.
I think I know.
Okay.
That's why I know George Kennan.
Ah, okay. I thought you were just really like that you just knew all of the things.
No.
No. Okay. And then we have Gulag: A History by Anne Applebaum. So this is, of course, how or where Russian prisoners are currently sent, and it talks about how the gulags developed and how they are used through time. Right. How to Not Kill Your Houseplants by Veronica Peerless. This is actually a delightfully updated addition to this beloved guide for the horticulturally challenged among us, myself included. It provides a lot of the same great, easy to follow advice, but has been updated to include a variety of other houseplants to help your green friends thrive, and it's described as being a fun and insightful new edition with more pictures and really helpful advice. The first read-alike I have is The Indestructible Houseplant. So this is a guide to plants that are difficult to kill. I found this book personally very, very helpful because I am unfortunately a serial plant murderer. Sorry. Try either overwater or forget to water. It's not
You
good.
created your plant gulag. Yes,
A little
you
bit.
did.
I try not to, but this book was very, very helpful in helping me pick plants that don't instantly die when I look at them. And then once you have a nice collection of greenery, this book, Decorating with Plants, will help you put them around your house in ways that are fun and appealing.
Airplane Mode, an irreverent history of travel. This one is a witty personal and cultural history. The author, quote, threads the history of travel with her personal story as a child on family vacations in India, an adult curious about the world, and an immigrant from whom round trips are an annual fact of life. Tracing the power dynamics that underlie tourism, this insightful debut parses who gets to travel and who gets to write about the experience. So you have travel experiences kind of combined with the inequality theme going on here. For a read-alikes, I brought Tales of a Female Nomad by Rita Golden Gelman. This is one woman's stories of her travels around the world and how her experiences have transformed her. And Rediscovering Travel by Seth Kugel. Kugel is an experienced travel writer, and in this book he teaches his readers how to rediscover the joy of discovery that was once inherent in travel experience before the dawn of modern technology like Google Maps.
And who was never seen again.
Alright, Calm Your Mind with Food, a revolutionary guide to controlling your anxiety. So, I learned about a new profession. This author is a nutritional psychiatrist. And in this groundbreaking guide, Dr. Uma Naidu presents cutting-edge research about the ways anxiety is rooted in the brain, gut, immune system, and metabolism. Drawing on the latest science on the connection between diet and anxiety, Dr. Naidu shows us how to effectively use food and nutrition as essential tools for calming the mind. So this book also includes guidelines for creating your own personal meal plans, as well as dozens of meal recipes. It's a rigorous yet accessible look at how readers can eat better to feel better. In a similar vein, we have Everyday Vitality by Samantha Boardman. This one offers strategies for cultivating positivity and energy to achieve less stress and better mental health. And The Better Brain by Bonnie Kaplan. In this one, two scientists talk about how to treat mental disorders like anxiety, depression, and ADHD with food and nutrients.
All right, Warhol after Warhol.
Oh dear.
And this one is written by Richard Dorment, who's an art critic. He has a lot of fancy titles, including some from the Queen of England. But this book is part detective story, part art history, part memoir, part courtroom drama. An art patron is told that what he thought were original Warhol paintings are fake, and he contacts someone, an expert, to ask them why, and it turns into a bitter 10-year struggle with a large cast of characters debating the authenticity of a series of Warhol paintings. And for read-alikes, I chose the Andy Warhol, I chose a biography. This book is fiction. It's about a young girl who is unhappy with her boring life in New York. She drops out of high school, becomes a typist for Andy Warhol, and I'm sure shenanigans ensue. And the art of forgery, how people, who does this, why, how they get away with it, etc. And although we don't have it in our collection, this is a perfect time for me to mention my friend Heather Shockey published a short book about Andy Warhol, which is their undergrad degree. If you look up Heather Shockey, Andy Warhol, if you Google that phrase, you'll get to see her book is available, PDF, it's free, but from the University of South Carolina. She did a really nice job. She wrote the grant to get the money to do the research, and she's a librarian now. She went on and got her master's. Okay, and that wraps us up.
Thank you very much.
Of course, yes.
Maybe want to share a drink with you next time.
Because we can't do it here, we have to get off the ground and just and get it all out. Next Books in Focus will be in December, and the 12th? Okay, the 12th of December, 3 p.m.
It's by far the funniest one.
Same time, same place.
Thank you so much.